And this week, two guests on the show, two members of one of my very favourite, all-time favourite rock bands that I've been after to come on the show for a very long time. And that's Francis Dominic Rossi and Richard Parfitt, both, of course, from Status Quo. So welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Morning.
Yeah,
Afternoon.
You do, right. And I believe that the first disc coming up is one that you actually chose for this imaginary album, Francis.
Yes, very so.
So
Good rock and roll.
Tell us what it is.
It's Red River Rock, Johnny and the Hurricanes.
Oh, well, there's a sound that I don't think anybody else has chosen in the 2 or 3 years we've been running on this show. Johnny and the Hurricanes there, this goes way back, doesn't it?
Well...
What did you like about that one so much, though, Francis?
I don't know, at the time it just struck me. I suppose it's like a strong rock thing with a good melody, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's what's it called really? Old Smoke on Top, Old Smoke. That's all right. No, isn't
No,
it?
it's not that.
What do they call it?
Red River Valley.
That's what it is. My mum told me that. I forgot.
Well, now your granddad told you, right? So you know, nice.
It's just one they did a lot of good sort of rock and roll records with the organ doing that, the melody line and the terrible sax going, you know.
Well, you say terrible, and yet it was good.
Terrible, tremendous, yeah. I mean, terrible, lovely. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Richard, maybe you'd care to tell us how you went about choosing these 12 records.
Well, it was quite confusing, actually. We thought it would be very easy, and until we actually came down to choosing them, and it's not really as easy as you'd think it's going to be.
Right.
You know? And we figured we'd like to get some old things that we that we really liked, you know, and that's why we came up with things like Red River Rock and...
Did you consult the other guys in the band, or is it just the two of you?
No, we just sat down in the studio.
Most of these are what everybody's into, I think. That's what we say, yeah, they're goodies, you know.
Yeah, but
their tastes are very close anyway. I think
it really represents what the others would have chosen anyway.
Yeah. Red River Rock especially, it's a terrible little...
that one. Right. Okay, so what's coming up as the second track?
Yeah, I think this is, I know it's a personal favourite of mine. It's an old thing by...
Yeah, great. Fats Domino, Blueberry Hill. I think we should straight away explain, if we can, the names. Actually, I did know you for a very long time as Mike Francis. Now, I mean, the full name is what? It's quite
Francis
short.
Dominic Michael Nicholas Rossi.
I thought it was something like that, yeah. Now, but you were known generally, weren't you, as Mike?
Yeah, this manager we had, and manager, Pat Barlow's name was Plummer. Lovely guy. He took us, if you like, when we were really young, about 12, 13. And they always figured that Francis was a bit, you know, a bit silly. And Mike was a bit more manly and a bit more tough and Americanised and good for the business. But it's one of those things that they stuck it, and it's in every bio, early bios.
Right,
People still keep saying Mike, and I go,
So
Mike.
when did you effect the switch back to Francis?
I don't know, 69, 70, I started getting fed up with being called Mike. And they said, what's your name, Mike? And I go, well, it's not, but it is, and it isn't, but it is.
Yeah, all right. I think the next one is one that you've both chosen.
Yeah, it's, we've always been into the Everleys. Heavily into the... We get off on their voice things, the two voice things. I don't think we ever quite match them.
The voices are amazing, the way they match in harmony.
Right.
You know.
Something special about
How old were you when you first became aware of them, do you think?
7 or 8.
Yeah, about then. I wanted to get that whole thing together with my little brother, Dominic. And,
His name's Dominic as well?
Well, he can't help it, can he? And we asked for guitars, you know, can we have a guitar, Christmas, Dad? And he changed his mind at the last minute and got a train set. And I nicked that in the end.
Good train set, wasn't it?
Right.
I got the guitar, though. Yeah.
Okay, well, which of Don and Phil's discs have you chosen?
Well, going back to the...
he's back.
The thing about around Matchstick Men time, around 68, when we sort of put this stage act together, we did it. We did When Will I Be Loved, and we tried to get this thing between the voices, you know. And it was quite good. I mean, we really enjoyed doing it. I sound like Henry Cooper then, didn't I? It was quite good. We enjoyed it. Yeah, we enjoyed doing it. That's about all, really.
But you think this is maybe a bit better?
Well, I think it probably is, yeah, just
It's got the snatch in it.
Yeah.
When Will I Be Loved, it's called.
Yeah, great one. The Everleys and When Will I Be Loved. One of my favourites too, although just a touch older than you gentlemen. But it does lead me on to the fact that you must be, give or take a couple of bands, one of the longest established British rock bands in the business, isn't that true?
Well, I suppose so. It's one of those things that it's like talking about yourself and saying how wonderful we are because we've been together so long. But it's a fact, we have been together a long time. It's about 13 years, probably 14 soon, is it not?
And no personnel changes at all?
No, I mean, one guy left. The organist we had in '68 or so, he left. He left just after that. He left a sinking ship, he thought, you see.
And you just didn't replace him at all? I mean,
No, it made the band a lot tighter as a thing, and take it away, you know.
We didn't even rehearse after he left. I mean, he opted out, and we literally had a gig night. It sounds all a bit corny, but it's true. And we went on and did it, and that's where we found the tightness in the band, because the organ had been really flowing the band, you know. And without it, we didn't really miss it, because we had the rhythm guitar there anyway, which was kind of fighting against the organ at times. And he left, and we found it much better,
And you'd already had several hits, hadn't you, before this happened? I mean, before the organist left.
We
Well,
had
2, 3.
Matched It Very Nice in the Sun.
Right.
Can't have had a tries.
And times were really hard then, were they? I mean, at the time you left, you say you thought he was leaving a sinking ship. I mean, did you feel it was that way?
Well, we got to a point where we'd left all that early, whatever you like to call it, and we were trying to build a reputation in clubs where people didn't really want us in the clubs. The name was unfashionable to be in a club, you know. And to get into those clubs, you had to work for very little monies or just work for extras. And I don't think he was into it. He got married, and that seemed to change it for some reason.
But you didn't lose faith. I mean, you really thought it was going to happen.
It got better then, because we were playing in these small clubs to sometimes 30, 40, 50 people. And to get genuine reaction and genuine applause at the end of a set, because they were into what we'd just done.
Sure.
It was just incredible to us, just those few people clapping, rather than go to a gig and have a few hundred at the front looking at you because you've been on television. And by the end of the set, they were fed up looking at you anyway. To get genuine applause was just, we couldn't believe it.
Because they liked what you were playing,
Yeah, really.
Good,
and we started to build on that. It was good fun, It was enjoyable.
I bet it was, and it's quite an object lesson to other people too, I think, to stay with it. All right, Francis, you've chosen now, again, a record that by artists that I don't think anyone else has chosen in the whole history of my top 12, but very good act.
The Southern Brothers, yeah. They've got something about their voices. They're two guys, and I think their writing's really good, But they got together with Quiver, was it?
That's right.
And I don't like to say it, but I think possibly it lost something. It did for me there somewhere. But those early records like this one, The Pie, just is amazing for me.
Let's remember how they sounded. An early one from the Sutherland Brothers, and if you're listening, Ian and Gavin, I must say that I don't agree with Francis and Richard. I think that the merger with Quiver was a good idea. It made some good sound since then. Anyway, let's not all fall out about that.
What's a fight now, isn't it?
Yeah, right. What's a fight? Okay. But if we can strike a sort of semi-serious note, as we've established that you've been going now for, 13 years or 14 years, has there been a tremendous difference in, A, the rock scene, and then, B, your own kind of approach or feel towards it in that time, or not? Who would care to try to answer?
That's difficult. There are a lot of changes.
Yeah. Would you care to tell me what they are?
Well, it's become much more serious now, I think.
That's what I
can't really... it'd take a long while to explain exactly how, but there's a lot more respect to be had now. I mean, in the early days, I think it was a lot easier to achieve success. It obviously was, because there wasn't so much competition around, and the competition that was around wasn't nearly so good as it is now,
Right.
I think nowadays you've really got to have something that is genuine, whereas I think in earlier years you could get away with a lot more than you can now, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. I absolutely agree with you and believe what you're saying. Well, we come now to perhaps a slightly unusual choice of records. Richard, I think it's one of yours, isn't it?
Yeah, this, why we chose this really, because it's a great favourite of mine. It's a great favourite of everybody's, because when we have played our gig, normally afterwards in the dressing room, we rather pride ourselves about our 4-part harmonies that we get going, you see.
No. I don't believe that.
This is the song that everybody, once they've had a few drinks, kind of rips into.
Yeah.
And it's called Home on the Range by Tex Ritter.
Earlier on, Richard and Francis confessed that they perhaps weren't quite up to the standard of the Everly Brothers. During that one, they suggested that their 4-part harmonies were an improvement on Tex Ritter. I must say, you stagger me with this. Is this something that you do regularly?
Yeah, Home on the Range, a few of them, isn't
Yeah, Home on the Range, Only You.
there?
Yeah, they're all our old
Oh, big
favourites.
album.
Dressing room favourites, we call them.
And these are all so totally non-public performances.
Oh, definitely.
Pity, why don't you do an album like that?
We got a tape of one of them, actually. It's really funny. I won't go into it.
There's a lot of other stuff in there. It shouldn't be there.
That I can believe. Right. Okay, can you tell me now a little bit about the very beginning of Status Quo? I mean, was that the name you started with?
No, we started with the name something like The Spectres or something like that.
Yeah.
When we did that show, I don't know if you remember Easy, but no, you wouldn't.
Of course,
but,
invented it,
oh,
man.
sorry. And,
but you were really kids then?
oh, yeah, we were
Sure,
really
yeah.
young, you know, really sort of 12, 13, all that touch.
Yeah.
Doing all sorts, we were doing gigs like the Des Artistes in Chelsea,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd work there till 4 in the morning, get £1 each for it. And the rest of it used to pay for the gear, and we used to go back to school in the morning.
And that time you were presumably just covering other artists'
Oh, we
material,
did
so all the
everything,
hits. Yeah.
And, I mean, in 65, which we were doing Butlins Holiday Camp in Minehead, you know, Minehead, like. And we did just about every rock and roll thing there was, all the Hound, those the Jazz Rocks, all the these things.
Yeah.
And people didn't want to know. They used to go and pick them with this Irish band and get off on them. And we were stuck in a rock and roll ballroom in our own.
5 or something, they were called.
It was good, though. But it was all...
We used to have the red
Good
coats
times.
up singing with us and all that.
So what really occasioned the initial breakthrough then?
Manchester Men itself, when we came to rehearse that, we were rehearsing it in the cellar of the gas showrooms. That's when the rat came out of the wall, wasn't it?
Oh, Duff killed it, didn't he? Or he chased it.
It was so loud then, I think it burst its eardrums, poor little thing. It was all, you know, anyway. And we got Manchester Men together. We got the record contract came in 66, and by 68, I mean, we did I Who Have Nothing, which was a single, a thing called Hurdy Gurdy Man, with a subtle thing on the B-side called I Want It. And various other things came until Matched It Men, and we were due to have the B-side as an A-side, which was Gentleman Joe's Sidewalk Cafe, which really didn't make it for us at all. We didn't make it for that. And Matched It Men just happened to turn out to be the A-side. Everybody wanted the other thing for the B-side, and it was put out, and it went bang.
It really took off, didn't it? Yeah.
Which took us by surprise. We weren't ready for it, I don't think. It was a
When we all
band,
left
you know.
our jobs.
We all got
Oh,
pounced.
you were up to that point still doing full-time jobs?
Oh, yeah.
Well, on and off.
I was, anyway.
When the
We were
money
sort of
came.
in between.
Well, what did you do, Francis?
Yeah, I did. I did.
What?
very
What?
much.
What did
I
you
know.
do?
Bits and pieces. I worked in opticians for a bit, grinding the glass down on the wheel to put it in the frames and all that. Then I did a bit of grass cutting. That was good.
What did you do?
I was a baker.
Well, don't be, you know, I mean...
Long toms. and
Well,
all
not
that,
in fact a baker. I hadn't quite made the stage of being a baker. I was just a bread roundsman, you know. To deliver
There is a
bread.
slight difference.
There is.
yeah.
A subtle difference.
I was a milkman. I didn't produce the milk. Anyway,
It's a rare addition, you know.
it's true, too. Let's close side one of your album by another tremendous group, Doors, right now. You both like this one.
Yeah, well, the whole band.
Well, this is just a thing, like, I think, that we can really associate with. I mean, it's a very status quo thing. I think a lot of people in the past and now have associated us with kind of 12-bar things, you know. And
I wonder why.
yeah, I wonder why. And this is just a track when we first heard it that kind of grabbed us, and we thought, well, yeah.
In those clubs in Germany, right?
Yeah,
And beer
we'll
clubs.
do that, and we did that. About 4 years ago, I suppose, or more, and we're still doing it.
Been there ever since.
And it's called?
Roadhouse.